at McDonald's. And she greeted every person with that 1,000-watt smile and said, "How can I help you?"
She calls you on her birthday? That is very I think you have to say that when you work at McDonald's, or really any point of service occupation. How can I help you is kind of the thing.
You asked for more loudly and we couldn't ignore it. By popular demand, we're back with a fiery second installment. This time, Jon Stewart hilariously takes aim at the DNC over the Kamala Harris scandal. Before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss moments like these.
Days into the convention and we're like, so she has a phone. Which, by the way, is literally one of the only things we knew about her before she took office.
We did it. We did it, Joe.
Jon Stewart didn't hold back. He relentlessly mocked Kamala Harris's political insignificance before she became vice president, a name barely mentioned in serious debates. Suddenly, she was pushed into the spotlight as the first female VP. But despite the historic title, she remained distant. No major speeches, no groundbreaking policies, just silence. The real twist came when Democrats chose her to lead the party into the 2024 elections, a decision Stewart found ridiculous given her track record. But it wasn't just about Kamala. Stewart called out the party's deeper hypocrisy, condemning oligarchy while aligning with wealthy elites like Bernie Sanders and George Soros. They criticized the system while profiting from it. To voters, it felt not just confusing, but insulting. You can't claim to fight power while dining with the powerful. And Stewart made sure to highlight every second of it, catching a level of hypocrisy that most completely missed.
Guys making fun of people for going to Yale, and a bunch of people who went to Yale. They had Barack Obama and Jewish Barack Obama.
Have you caught that? If not, pay attention to what Stewart is subtly exposing. The DNC loves to champion identity politics, claiming to stand with underrepresented communities across America. They've staged protests against Israel, loudly condemned Zionism, and positioned themselves as the voice of the oppressed. But when it mattered at their own event, not a single Palestinian American was given a platform, not one. That's the problem with performative politics, it's all smoke and mirrors. The Democratic National Committee talks a big game but delivers empty promises and rehearsed gestures. It's hypocrisy dressed up as activism.
And Black Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans, gay Americans, Jewish Americans, Palestinian
This part is truly fascinating. Every speaker went out of their way to emphasize the event's theme. Joy, smiles, rehearsed excitement, and catchy slogans filled the room. But then, Jon Stewart's sharp comment cut right through the act. Pay close attention to this.
Joy, joy, joy.
We will be joyful warriors. The president of joy.
Let us choose joy.
Jon Stewart argued that the so-called joy at the DNC convention was anything but real. It felt so staged, you'd think someone was behind the scenes, flashing cue cards to tell the crowd when to clap or cheer. The whole event seemed designed to sell the Kamala Harris brand, not to inspire genuine excitement. Stewart pointed out that the energy wasn't spontaneous, it was scripted, compared to the raw, uncontrollable joy of people leaping out of their seats and screaming with real emotion, like when Oprah gives away gifts. That's real joy. The DNC's version felt more like a marketing campaign than a movement. It wasn't about true support. It was about quickly stitching together a story they hoped people would buy. The cheers were robotic, the smiles rehearsed, the enthusiasm manufactured. Stewart's critique cut deeper. This wasn't just fake energy. It was a cover-up for the uncomfortable truth. Even many within the party aren't fully convinced.
Watched Oprah on her show. You thought people were happy to see her endorse Kamala Harris. You should see what they do when she gives them lip liner.
People want this. It's the Sony virus.
In recent years, major media outlets have steadily shifted left, driven largely by their deep dislike for Donald Trump and a relentless push to keep him out of office. Minor issues were blown into major scandals. with controversies exaggerated to shape public opinion, not to report facts. It stopped being journalism, became narrative control. The media used their platforms as weapons, trying to brand Trump as unelectable, hoping the non-stop negativity would chip away at his support and tip the balance toward the Democrats. Meanwhile, they openly praised Biden and the DNC, often covering up his missteps. So, expecting fair and honest coverage of the convention. Unrealistic. This was an interesting jab at Tim Walz's age. To be fair, Walz is no Joe Biden, over 20 years younger and should, on paper, be in his prime. But let's be honest, mental decline doesn't follow a calendar. Once you're past 50, it can sneak up at any time, no matter how sharp you once were, given some of Walz's recent public statements and questionable policy choices. It's fair to ask whether he's really at his best. Age isn't the issue, it's about mental clarity, decision-making, and leadership under pressure. Age is just a number, but performance is the real test, and lately, Walz hasn't been passing it.
Ultimately, look, Democrats have already drank the Kool-Aid. It's very difficult when you're inside that convention environment to know if this has been a successful endeavor. Perhaps the best way to see how well it actually went is through the eyes of a more objective observer.
This is where things completely unraveled. In a bizarre move, Tim Walz mocked J.D. Vance at a Nebraska rally for not knowing what a runza is, a local fast food item. Yes, instead of discussing real issues like policies or future plans, Walz actually said, "Vote blue because we know the menu." It was a cringe-worthy attempt to seem relatable, but it only made his campaign feel forced and shallow. No talk of inflation, crime, or the economy, just bread, steak, and cabbage. If your whole pitch is built around a sandwich, maybe you're not ready to lead.
He's probably on the bus. He's got his own map. You know, he's giving the driver advice. Oh, you could take the 34 to the 16, but honestly, the 7 to the 53, they got better rest.
In a desperate bid to win over Nebraskans, Tim Walz mocked J.D. Vance for not knowing what a runza is, acting like fast food knowledge defined leadership. The irony, runza isn't even a national hit. Walz's food obsession only highlighted his lack of focus on real issues like healthcare, crime, and the economy. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris spent her vice presidency delivering awkward speeches, confusing word salads, and staying invisible on major problems. She never built a clear identity, failed to connect with voters, and came off as a diversity pick more than a leader. In the end, Democrats chose style over substance and paid for it. Walz offered sandwiches, Harris offered slogans, and the DNC served fake joy instead of real solutions. Jon Stewart just held up the mirror and what reflected back was hollow and out of touch.